After years of fat shaming, race and discrimination of all sorts, Abercrombie & Fitch has made a comeback and is relatively popular again in the year 2023. We need to talk about it. How did they manage to do this? And why? So first in this video, what I want to start off with is the history of the brand Abercrombie & Fitch, because I think it's kind of interesting because it's not what you'd expect at all. Then we're going to talk about the controversies they've had, and then they've made a comeback in 2023, 2022, 2020s. And then I want to talk about their alleged greenwashing as well. The history of Abercrombie & Fitch. So this man named David T. Abercrombie opened Abercrombie Co. in 1892, which is really crazy that it was literally made in the 1800s. And it was a hunting store. Early Abercrombie reminds me of LL Bean or Cabela's, honestly, which is really crazy because that's the farthest thing from what it is today and what it was in the 90s and early 2000s, 2010s. I think that's just wild. And Abercrombie Co. was really popular at the time, like Teddy Roosevelt, Charles Lindbergh, Ernest Hemingway, all shopped at Abercrombie. Also got its name Abercrombie & Fitch. In 1904, they got a co-owner in, and his last name was Fitch, so that's how it became Abercrombie & Fitch. But their popularity did not last forever. What ended up happening is they filed for bankruptcy in 1976. A few years later, original Abercrombie Co. sold their business to Oshman's Sporting Goods Co. But then, a few years later, in 1988, then Abercrombie was sold to Les Wexner, the owner of L Brands, also known as Limited Brands, and Les Wexner scares me, dude. L Brands is a conglomerate that owns a lot of well-known brands that you know. For example, Victoria's Secret, so you know of all the corruption that went on at Victoria's Secret. Also, check out my other video about Victoria's Secret, about how their whole rebrand is like performative. But anyways, Les Wexner scares me, dude. And why he does is because he was very closely affiliated buddy with Jeffrey Epstein. He just scares me. He's probably seen some in his life. I don't know what he's done, but he's probably done some. Being that close to Jeffrey, you know, just creeps me out. Even though I don't like Leslie Wexner, I do need to give it credit where it's due, and that's that Les knows how to take a dying business and revamp it and make it popular. He did that with Victoria's Secret, and he most definitely did that with Abercrombie. He revamped it. It stopped being a sporting goods store, and instead he decided to start making the brand like very preppy and towards teens and young adults rather than people who hunt. Abercrombie & Fitch started selling casual preppy clothes with some sex appeal, especially their early marketing campaigns were wild looking through them. I understand that they were eye-catching because they were just so sex, UAL, and shock factor. It was definitely eye-catching. Les Wexner, he really transformed the brand, and he didn't do it without having a handful of controversies, so let's get into those. The first one I want to talk about is a racist t-shirt that Abercrombie released, and I'll put a picture of it here. They sold this t-shirt here that is objectively racist. And then around that same time, they were getting in trouble for discriminating people that applied for a job there, and they ended up settling the lawsuits. You know, they were only hiring pretty people. And here is a quote from the CEO in 2006 about this topic. So Les Wexner's the top dog. He owns the whole conglomerate, but then there was a CEO for Abercrombie & Fitch. And this man is named Michael Jeffries. In an interview, Jeffries said that Abercrombie & Fitch's image and business was built around sex appeal. He wanted to hire good-looking people to market to the cool kids. He candidly said that his brand was intentionally exclusive because a lot of people don't belong in our clothes. So that was definitely controversial, even at the time. And I want to give some input. Abercrombie labels their retail associates as models, and they do this in order to hire people based on the way they look. And since they're listed as in-store models, then there's different rules and regulations compared to hiring a store associate. So I think that's just kind of crazy. They did this loophole so that they could discriminate their candidate and only hire good-looking people. I want to see real quick, I have my laptop right here, if they still do that. I'm going to see hiring Abercrombie and Fitch, see if in 2023 they still call their retail people models. Brand representative nowadays. Retail coordinator, okay, thank you. I like to see that. Key holder, that's normal. But yeah, in the past there was in-store model. Isn't that just really sketchy? Is they would call their retail people, their cashiers, models so that they could legally judge them for their looks like they were models. Yeah, it seems like they call them brand representatives now. So who really knows what rules and regulations come with a brand representative? But they literally used to be called models, which is just sketchy and nasty behavior in my opinion. But then around 2014, this controversial CEO that would be pretty open about how Abercrombie and Fitch wanted only an exclusive type of people in their clothing, he ended up resigning in 2014. And soon after that, in the mid-2010s, sales continued to plummet. I think it was just all this controversy and like everyone was starting to realize how Abercrombie was like really exclusive and fatphobic. And so then sales started to decline after that. And listen to this. Even during one summers, the company was facing a lawsuit from over 62,000 former and current sales clerks who claimed lost wages over how they would have to spend so much money on the clothing in order to have their uniform for work. And then also Abercrombie came under fire after rejecting a Muslim teen for a job because she needed to wear a hijab. And the case went to the Supreme Court and they ruled in her favor. Then in 2015, Abercrombie and Fitch reported a net loss of $63 million in its first quarter, and it just continued to drop in tens of millions throughout the next few years. And they went on to downsize their stores, and it just really didn't look good for them. Their brand image was just in the toilet, especially with consumer tastes changing nowadays. People are becoming more size inclusive and focused on sustainability and other things in that nature. Abercrombie was just becoming outdated, out of touch, and just not it. Since 2010, the company had closed over 400 of their stores. That's wild. So now let's move into the resurgence of Abercrombie and Fitch. So they hired a new CEO, as they should, and they started to optimize their global network of suppliers and manufacturers and store locations as well. So they really tried to globalize their brand. Also, increasing their e-commerce, really focusing on online, and obviously influencer marketing has blown up. And I actually saw a lot of Abercrombie through influencers. I saw that while it was happening. So Abercrombie was really known for being, exclusive in a bad way. Nowadays, they've tried to really focus on their quality and sustainability and really catering towards their target market's tastes. And something that's interesting I realized is that Abercrombie is growing with their target market. I'm a Gen Z. I'm sure millennials, shopped at Abercrombie as well. The brand is trying to grow up with those generations rather than staying as a teen and tween kind of clothing store compared to Justice. Justice did not grow up with those generations. They kind of just stayed in the tween or little kid sector. Abercrombie is claiming they're trying to focus more on inclusivity and sustainability. It's great they're doing those things, but I just find it so fake. You know what I mean? When a brand has such a horrible dark past of being fatphobic and excluding people, and now they're like, let's include everybody because that's the cool thing to do now. It's just gives me a bad taste in my mouth. It makes me wonder how genuine are these efforts, especially when Abercrombie was literally dying as a brand. Another key point of their, resurgence business plan was to focus on quality, and I've definitely noticed that in influencer ads or marketing campaigns that I've seen is like, oh, the quality's so great, the quality's so great. Yes, there are other brands where there can be great quality, and apparently Abercrombie's trying to emphasize on their sustainability as well, which I have a whole section for that. But I have a question to you. Do you think their inclusive approach or change in their business, do you think it's genuine, or do you think it's just because their brand was outdated and needed to change with the times? Like, do you think it was genuine, or do you think it was just to make money and appeal to the audience now? Next, I want to talk about their sustainability efforts, because I think it's a load of crap. This is my opinion. So I just want to give a little bit of background about this. So I graduated with a bachelor's in supply chain management. The whole reason that got me interested in supply chain was seeing the corruption throughout the supply chain and the fashion industry. That's what made me want to major in supply chain. And taking from what I've learned from my educational background, in my opinion, and I even work in supply chain now, and applying it to the Abercrombie sustainability website, this looks like greenwashing to me. And like what I learned in school is if a brand is claiming to be green or sustainable, what you want to look for is supply chain certifications. If you're not talking certifications, then I don't want to talk. If you're saying you're sustainable, but you don't have any certifications to prove that you are sustainable or ethical, then it's just deflective in my opinion. Like I looked at Abercrombie's sustainability page on their website and it's like, oh yeah, we're a part of this association. We have these goals, blah, 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 fluff, fluff, fluff. Where is the talk about the certifications? That's really the key point into proving you're sustainable, or what certifications are you working towards? There was no talk about that. And that's what makes me think that their whole sustainability flex or marketing is a load of crap. Sure, some of their items are made with more sustainable fabric, but at the same time, they have a lot of clothing items that are made from synthetic materials, which is just the farthest thing from sustainable. Oh, and then another thing is they're like, oh, we're donating to this charity and this charity and this charity and we care. And it's like, that seems manipulative. Like, that's awesome you're donating to charities. I love to see that. But what does donating to this random charity have to do with you not enslaving people in your supply chain or having unethical business practices? Like, that's great. You're throwing money at these charities. Keep up the good work on that end, but that has literally nothing to do with the fact that you have sweatshops, you have modern slaves making the clothes and dumping the chemicals. It just seems a facade, a green facade, a sustainability facade of charities. We're a part of these organizations, and just throwing money at things to make them look more sustainable, when in reality they have a lot of work to do. I appreciate the fact that they're trying. I hope they're trying for the right reasons. I hope they're genuinely trying, but right now it doesn't look it. But anyways, yeah, that's what I got to say about Abercrombie and Fitch. In my opinion, please do not give these people your hard-earned money. Money does not grow on trees, and these people in Abercrombie and Fitch, in my opinion, does not deserve your money. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I report on corruption in the fashion and entertainment and influencer spaces, and if you're interested in those things too, hit the subscribe button, follow me on my other social medias. I'd really appreciate it, and thank you guys again so much for watching. Bye.